So session 4 brings a focus on how DAB+ is transforming the in-car radio experience and enhancing public safety. We'll also dive into some critical broadcast industry topics in a panel discussion. So first up, let's take a look at how DAB+ is revving up radio for drivers. We welcome Tomas Granryd, coordinator of the EBU Connected Car Playbook, and via video, Gregor Pötzsch. Welcome, Tomas.
Thank you. Thank you.
First, we'll hear from Gregor Pötzsch, product owner of radio at Volkswagen Group and chair of the WorldDAB Automotive Working Group. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gregor Pötzsch, product owner for car radio at CARIAD. I have a long history with Audi, and I'm living the radio to be in this world of getting audio in the car. This is my idea to bring audio to life. I'm here to tell you today about where we are in the car industry, what's our surrounding, where we are living in. We are in the world of Androids and Apples in the car. So we have Android Automotive in the car. We have an app store in the car, so everyone can bring their most loved apps into the car. So where's the radio in the car in this setup? Because we need to know, how will the radio fit in? In my opinion, radio should be in the center stage to show off what it can actually offer. And to do this, it's really important to keep radio prominent, to have an easy findability, which we provide special tooling and guidance through the user experience guide on WorldDAB. And we are especially providing more effort and additional knowledge how you can use the existing ETSI standard and technologies like DAB, radio DNS into the car to provide a better user experience. Because in my opinion, radio is not only what you hear, you should also think about your radio brand needs to have a station logo. This needs to be presented in the car. Your radio brand delivers metadata like slideshow, cover arts, or the current host, which is on the radio. So this is important information to deliver to the customer, as well as textual information like artist title or the current running show. But yeah, big thing, it's already there, so just use it. No, it's a big thing because we have thousands of broadcasters need to deliver this kind of metadata. So it's really important to collaborate on these important informations to enhance the user experience for the car user. So I'm urging and asking all broadcasters to come together to deliver important metadata. And which metadata is, in my opinion, really important for the future besides the already existing. I asked for collaboration on metadata, text and graphics, and especially phonemes to enhance the voice control or voice interaction with the car, because only if we get the proper phonemes and text how your station is to be named and recognized, then the user has a nice experience in asking for your station. So it's really important to use WorldDAB as a big stage to talk with broadcasters and with OEMs and also suppliers to really improve these possibilities. Thanks for having me. Gregor Pötzsch, tuning out.
Well, that was a great introduction from Gregor, and really interesting to hear his perspectives, but also his asks from the automotive industry. Tomas, from your point of view in the radio industry, I would love to hear a little bit more about the connected car playbook.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Thank you. As you see, we are very, very proud of making a project that has so many letters so it doesn't fit in one row. We are toying around with using the word automotive, so it can perhaps be 3 rows in the future. But this initiative is something that we have been working on from the EBU side for the last couple of months, and it is, to be very clear, a lot of the work has already been done from companies or organizations like WorldDAB or Radio DNS or other organizations. What we have merely done is kind of to add a few stuff and bring everything together so it more is a holistic view on audio listening and radio listening in the car. Why did we do this? Well, as we all know, when the car gets connected, we kind of see a couple of existential challenges in the car that we didn't see for, let's say, 20 years ago. First of all, as we have heard, and as we heard just previously, there is a risk of the FMDAB button gonna get more and more hidden away, lowering the prominence of the button. The second thing is the voice journey that is today kind of completely unclear. There is no set of rules of the voice journey. What happens when you ask for that? What happens when you ask for that? There is no set of rules, and we need to change that. And the third thing is, of course, that strong global actors, and we know them all, are getting more and more prominence with their apps. So we need to find a way to have one clear message in this area. So we kind of produced a map, you could say. And where does the playbook fit in this whole environment? Well, if we start with the listeners or the people that are sitting in the car, they have a very, very special bond to us, the broadcasters. They kind of love the broadcasters. 70% of all audio consumed in the car is radio. So we have a kind of specific and special bond with the people in the car. And that's why we kind of formulated guidelines for like what the audience expect in the car, like the ask from the broadcasters, how it should work. And we call this formalized guidelines, the playbook. We work, of course, together with the aggregators, service providers, because they know how to do it. They know how to implement these guidelines in the car. The broadcasters don't know that, at least not all of them. But the aggregators, they are the experts in implementing these guidelines because they work very closely with the OEMs or the operating systems or the tier 1 producers. The OEMs, they have a very special bond to the car buyers, right? Or the phone buyers, if it's an operating system. So we kind of compete or we work actually on the exact same audience. So that is something that we should use, I think. What kind of tools do we have? We have, of course, legislation, communication, a lot of standardization. This WorldDAB is extremely important in the standardization part. But primarily, of course, it's collaboration, where we collaborate together with the aggregators, we collaborate with the OEMs, and try to do stuff in a new and more effective way. So let's have a quick look at the playbook. And you will see that it is absolutely not rocket science, and that is the beauty of it. It's very clear, it's trying to be very focused, and try not to get like overexcited in innovation. it should be stuff that is plausible and doable today. So we kind of divide it in radio, apps, and voice. What is our ask towards car manufacturers on these three different areas? Well, radio, as we have understood today, should be a top service. It has been the top service for at least, 70 years. It should continue to be the top service. It should be impossible to miss. It should receive broadcast and IP. It should be fully hybrid. It should look good, as we heard before. And that it sounds ridiculous when I say it. It should look good. But of course it doesn't today, so it has to be some kind of improvement in this area. And it should provide direct links from linear radio to the broadcasts app or the broadcast nominated app. And that's a super interesting area. I will return to that. When it comes to apps, it must be, of course, easy to find. And it should be as easy to find as other top services in the car environment. So let's say that Spotify is pre-installed, then broadcasters' app should be pre-installed. Or they should be recommended, or they should be highlighted in this area. And the last thing is voice. It should be a consistent experience that you rely on. Today, it's not a consistent experience, and that's probably why people don't use voice that much in the car. Because you try it once, it doesn't work, and then you don't do it again. It has to be consistent. You have to rely on it. So we think our ask is, when you ask for a linear radio channel, it should open the primary hybrid radio application, aka the radio button. It should open there and play from that. And when you ask for on-demand content, it should be played from the broadcaster's nominated app. That's it. That is kind of the playbook. And to be very, very clear, it's guidelines. It's not like that we are going to build anything, or that we're going to compete with anyone, or we're going to approve anyone, or certify. You're a certified Playbook person. No, this is actually with the audience in focus, always the audience in the focus, and our job is to be vocal about these guidelines towards the industry. And to be very honest, car companies can follow all the rules or guidelines, some of them, or none. It would be a bad idea for the car manufacturers, but of course they can. So that's the playbook. It's not that we're going to build an app or anything like that. We have produced the voice from the broadcasters saying, these are the guidelines, these are our ask towards the car manufacturers. 2 focus areas to end. First of all, a thing that I think is super fascinating and hopefully will work, and that is the ability to deep link. Let's say that you're listening to broadcast. Let's say that you're listening to Radio 1 here. This is a mock-up, but here you're listening to DAB+. You're listening to Radio 1. Wouldn't it be great if this was here? The ability to push that button and you open BBC Sounds and you have the BBC experience, like a plus menu, right? If you want more, you can press it. If you just want to stay in the broadcast environment, you stay in the broadcast environment. So in that way, you use this super familiar and well-used experience in order to introduce the IP world. That would be great. And that is something that a lot of companies and a lot of organizations are trying to push the car manufacturers to be interested in. And I think this is actually like almost a silver bullet. If this would be working, this would be a true hybrid experience, right? This would be FM, DAB, introduced together with IP. So that's the first focus area. The second focus area is voice navigation. What happens when you say, hey Google, play the radio channel X? What happens when you say, hey Google, play the podcast Y? And let's say it's from BBC. Well, today, this happens. It's complete a mess, right? No one knows what happens. And in general, Spotify opens, or the system tries to open it in Spotify. So of course we want this. If you say, hey Google, play the radio channel X, it should open the radio button, the radio system. And when you ask for a podcast, this time from BBC, it should open BBC Sounds. Or if you're a company that don't have an app, well, then you could use an aggregator app if you want. The point is that you as a broadcaster, you can point wherever it should open. You are in charge of your content, and you should be able to kind of point which source should be opened. It's as simple as that. So if it's a podcast from Swedish Radio, then we want Swedish Radio app to open. So these two focus areas, deep linking and voice, is our kind of right now main focus. And so this is the EBU Connected Car Playbook. What we actually are doing is making more letters, because we're trying to remove the EBU idea and go for broadcasters. Because this is not for public service at all. This is for the whole industry. This is for the whole radio industry, that these guidelines could be used. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Take a seat. Thank you so much for sharing that overview of the playbook, and it's really interesting to see where those focus areas are. I'd just like to draw on the voice controls. You mentioned this as one of the main issues. Why do you think that is, and what might we do about it?
Well, there is a lot of work to be done. I had a really interesting chat with Nick yesterday from Radio DNS, that there is a lot of possibilities today in Radio DNS standardization, but it is not well used, it's not well known. It's kind of complicated to make this work, but I think that we have this shot right now to do this right. We can't wait 5-10 years, because then the decisions have been made and the standards have been set. So it's right now that we should be pushing towards the car manufacturers and the operating systems to make this work. And it's not easy. I mean, the radio channel, that works quite well if you sit in the car, but the podcast doesn't.
Yeah.
And you ask for like 5 times, and then it says, I didn't find the podcast X in Spotify. And that you always kind of end up in Spotify.
Yes, and of course you're in contact with car manufacturers in the automotive industry. What do you think we here in the radio industry can be doing to support this work?
I mean, you can use it in contact with the car manufacturers or the operating system. This is not a closed, like, you need approval to use these guidelines. These guidelines are open. It's for everyone to use. If you are negotiating with a car company, if you're negotiating with any party, you can kind of have this as a checklist to see, am I covering everything here, or am I forgetting something? But I think that we should use that. Tricky questions is, okay, how do we make our apps prominent? Prominent is a tricky word. You can use it, but nobody really understands what it means. So it's like, perhaps you feel it when you are prominent, but otherwise, how do you define it so it works for everything? So we probably need to define it even more, what it means by highlighting, pre-installation, recommendations. But that's the aim, to have our apps prominent.
Yeah, so there is an element of that bringing people along with you on the journey, because I think for a lot of people it's really invaluable to have these guidelines. It's almost like you just need a little bit of guidance of how to use them and what they mean, and how to speak the language of the automotive industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you so much. It's really fascinating. Thank you, Tomas, and also thank you, Gregor, for sharing how DAB+ continues to be essential in automotive environments. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Next, super excited to explore a groundbreaking DAB+ innovation designed to save lives. Our next topic is the Automatic Safety Alert ASA system, a pioneering initiative by WorldDAB and Digitalradio Deutschland EV. To tell us more about the ASA system, please welcome Korsten Sorger, Director for Digitalradio Bureau Deutschland, and winner yesterday of the WorldDAB Award for Outstanding Contribution. Congratulations, Lindsay Cornell, Chair of the WorldDAB Technical Committee.
Thank you very much. Thank you, BBC, WorldDAB. Thank you, ARD. Thank you, Deutschlandradio. Thank you, Media Broadcast. Thank you, Fraunhofer. Thank you, Private Radio in Germany. Thank you, all these partners who have made that possible. We worked 2 years, we discussed, we fought, and we had a goal, and we achieved our goal. And I'm very happy to present the results now to you. And the good thing about that is, for the consumer, it comes at no extra costs. What we are explaining now doesn't make any radio any more expensive as it is today, because it's a safety feature. It's basically a software. There's a bit of hardware, of course, but I think it comes at no extra cost for the consumer. And I believe that the manufacturers won't have to invest that much money. Now, what is ASA? This is where we started, 2021, in Ahrtal in Germany. It's a valley. There's radio reception, but, we had a big flood and 135 people died because it was 11:30 in the night. People were asleep. They hadn't any sirens because we got rid of them after the Cold War, no sirens. And the officials in Germany were slow to warn the public because they were not used to that kind of flood coming very quickly. That was Germany. But look up there, Spain. I read yesterday, Malaga, again, lots of water, lots of crises. So this is the right time to talk about safety via radio. So of course there's climate change, we see that. And we in Germany decided to change things. And that's why we started thinking about safety and warning messages. For everyone, what does the new system do? Because there were alarm announcements before 2024, which is basically figure 1, alarm announcement, like a traffic announcement. It was in the standard, but the technical committee and its partners, they invented 5 more pieces of innovation or 5 more parts that are very important. The most important thing is 3 and 2. We can now wake up sleeping radios, I'll explain in a minute. And once the radio is woken up, we can tell the radio before it's waking up, please wake up in the Ahrtal, in the valley, at 11:30 at night to wake up these people because the flood is coming. But don't, because DAB, you know how DAB is, it's everywhere, 10 kilometers here, 10 kilometers there. You don't have to wake up other people because they are without the region that's affected. So geofencing, which is number 2, is very important. So waking up radios that know their place where they are in the coordinate system, it's like geocodes. This is the 2 pieces of a major innovation. But there's more. We looked about crises and emergencies, and we said, okay, if there is a slight chance that there's no electricity, you have to run on battery. What can you do? Because if you have a radio on standby, it'll be empty within, 12 hours or so. So what we do is we have the full minute, and 55 seconds out of this full minute, the radio is really asleep. But we synchronize the radios. We wake them up just for 5 seconds, and the radio, the DAB receiver, only a part of it, a part of the little chip, listens to the signal. Is there anything coming for me, from my location? Yes or no? Yes. It starts the amplifier, it starts the display, and it sounds a tone, and then comes an emergency message. But if there's nothing, it keeps on sleeping, and it saves battery power. So this is very important. 2, 3, and 4 are very important for crises and to be resilient over days and days. 5 is important, switching function. If you listen to a local small station and it doesn't have the alerts because they don't have the people and they're not awake at night, the radio is able to automatically switch to a channel that broadcasts a radio message. So this is again important, and they do this now in the standard. And if you had that message, dismiss, and you know what to do, you can press a button, say thank you very much. I've heard already. So we call this emergency warning system, but as you might think and consider, warnings, emergencies as nouns, they don't sell at the cash register, and people are more afraid than being able to really look towards that kind of thing. So we thought, okay, what can we do? We have to do something with it because it's so innovative. Well, we build on the trust of radio. We know how many people trust in radio, and we know the radio is a reliable companion, and it's always on our side. So let's change the perspective. So warnings, emergencies, well, we want to have DAB seeing as modern, and we change the perspective, and so it becomes about protection, and now comes something very German. The Germans love insurances. They go out and buy any insurance you can get because they want to be safe. So thinking about, I'm a German, I can do this. Let's have the idea that if you were to buy this new radio, it's like a little piece of insurance, new insurance you get, and it wakes you up, it's okay, all is safe, my family is safe, so that's why we talk about safety. So the term we found is automatic safety alert, ASA. A three-letter word, it's automatic, it's very easy, it does everything by itself. You don't have to, press a button or do anything. It's about safety, not warnings, not emergency, but it's a safety message. The presenter tells me what to do. It tells me exactly what to do. And alert, I love English. Sometimes English is even better than German. The alert, of course, it's a message. But to be on the alert or to be alerted means, be attentive. You have to listen to it. And this is exactly what the radio does. It's there and listens to the data stream, and whenever there's something coming up which is important, it relays the message. This is how the new logo looks, and this is how it looks like. Automatic safety alert. This is for certified radios. And we just have a sneak preview of the partners we have currently. There are more coming. I've heard from Frontier Smart, there are some 10 to 15 brands coming which are interested in ASA, so it's just the two first brands I can show you. For example, here you see the radio is a mock-up, obviously, and they put it right here on the left-hand corner, adjacent to the DAB logo. Another one, my employer, Deutschlandradio, they even have their radio, so we put it up here. And another one. But partner Kenwood, of course, is participating. You'll see the two of them in a second. And this is their bestseller in Germany. This is how it would look like. They make it very prominent on the front of their product packaging. This is the same radio, just in white. Another one, a clock radio. This is important. This is for your bedroom. And you see it on the right-hand side here with the colored next to the logo. And you see how well it works with the logo, the DAB logo, because it's not the same green color, but it's sort of out of the family of colors. So for piracy reasons, of course, this is a trademark already, and it's registered within the European Union, in UK, and Switzerland. You can get this as a manufacturer of radios if you're tested. So we found a partner. It's DTG London. They already do the digital radio tick mark. And they agreed upon testing the new devices. We did a global call for tender. We had 8 or 12 companies being written to, and they got the best offer. So they are the partner now. And it's all done with the ETSI standards that are there. It can all be started. And of course, I want to invite any manufacturer here in the room or online or somewhere else to participate, to be first in the market with that new system. Because it has benefits for consumers, which is, of course, if you have a secured and certified device, you know what you get. It's a proof. It's reliable because it has been tested before. We only give it out to radios that have been tested. It builds up confidence with the consumer. And we also look, and that's where we have phone calls right now about user-friendliness, how to input certain things in order to make things work. But for manufacturers, there are also certain benefits. The whole process is streamlined. It goes through. I heard it takes about 2 weeks until you have your application, deliver your module, your radio, and then it comes out of the system after 2 weeks' time with a certificate. You can have a market differentiation, because if you're first in the market, amongst the first in the market, it's easy for you to, well, have a little gain towards the competition. And of course, liability is always good, to reduce that, because it's a certified process. Now, I would like to show you how we did it. With geofencing, we talked about this is location codes, waking up radios, and we did this with 4 German ARD radio stations. I'm not going to detail in this slide, but I'm just telling you, we had 2 locations set up. One was the Brandenburg Gate, obviously. This is the one that should, in the end, turn on the radio, because there's a big thing going on at Brandenburg Gate, so we have to sound the alarm at Brandenburg Gate. And there's another address called in den Ministergärten, which perhaps you have been to Berlin, which is only like 1 kilometer away. And as we do the ASA security alerts within a 1 kilometer radius, basically, this is the next address that we could find, and we show you that now. I'm not going to detail that. I'm showing you participating stations were Bayerischer Rundfunk, Hessischer Rundfunk, Rundfunk Berlin-Brandenburg, Südwestrundfunk. And this was a live broadcast. This was nothing at night. This was in Germany, 11 o'clock. And these 1, 2, 3, 4 stations, they cover about 30 million people. So this was live. Obviously, we didn't have enough radios for 30 million people. We had 30 radios out in pairs for testing with beta software. And I would like to show you now the successful test from Germany at 11 o'clock on our warning day, September 12th. Again, Brandenburg Gate, big thing going on, radio turning on, sounding the alarm. The other one in Ministergärten being a small, without any additional ado, not turning on, to prove that it's working.
Bis Sonntag und dann gibt es wieder 3 Tage Pause.
So everything's set up.
In vielen Büros klingeln jetzt alle Handys, aber das ist nur ein Test. Es ist bundesweiter Warntag. Jetzt gerade wurden alle Sirenen ausgelöst und Warnmeldungen an die Handys geschickt. Auch hier im Radio wird gleich eine Testwarnung herausgegeben. Damit wird geprüft, ob die Warnsysteme funktionieren. Noch in dieser Stunde kommt dann auch die offizielle Entwarnung. Und wir unterbrechen die Nachrichten für diese Warnmeldung. Die amtliche Gefahrendurchsage. Sie hören eine Probewarnung zum bundesweiten Warntag 2024. Es besteht keine Gefahr für die Bevölkerung und auch kein Handlungsbedarf. Wir machen weiter mit den Nachrichten.
Mit einer silbernen Manschette von der Polizei versiegelt. Die anderen Fastfood.
So we were also able to turn off the radios again after the alarm announcement. And then, of course, the de-warning comes at 11:45, turning them on and off again.
Alles Gute, natürlich von Schwäbchen.
Wichtige Meldung für euch, eigentlich eine wichtige Entwarnungsmeldung für euch. In Deutschland fand heute der Warntag 2024 mit einer bundesweiten Probewarnung für alle Warnmittel statt. Der bundesweite Warntag ist hiermit beendet. So, jetzt wieder du, Megan.
And the radio turned itself off again. So this was like the proof of the pudding, turning on the radios remotely, telling them where they are with the geofencing. So 2 pairs, one reacting, the other one didn't. And we have 2 websites in German, dabplus.de/ASA, for B2B customers, because it'll be B2C once the new devices come out in the next summer, so summer 25. This is when we have devices, and of course in English, here, WorldDAB. And I have something, I'm not Steve Jobs, but I have something more to tell you. I just 2 days ago reserved a new domain, which is meant to be worldwide, and it sits by the EBU, and it's only being given to radio stations, and it's called ASA.radio. And this will be the worldwide English, and we have Spanish, French, and other languages to choose from to look up your location code from any market, and it'll be asa.radio. It's already connected, but we don't have any content there. So this is my presentation, and now I have to ask a few questions to the chair of the WorldDAB Technical Committee. Lindsay, thank you for having me. Thank you for being here. So you invested so much time and effort with the colleagues in technical committee. How do you foresee ASA, developing in the next few years regarding public safety?
Well, I think it's really clear. You've talked about the benefits of what it is, and you also mentioned these climate activities. I mean, there are more and more of these climate incidents, which are supposed to be every 100 years, but they're happening every summer. They're happening every autumn. And we've seen that, floods, wildfires, all sorts of events which the public can be helped by being alerted. And we've also seen that when sometimes the organization of these things is not very good, and I think having a focus on radio when we have the trust of our audiences, and we know how to deal with these. Radio broadcasters know how to deal with this kind of thing. They know how to craft a message to help the public. They understand their audiences. They know how to talk to audiences, how to give information without causing panic. So I think, it's a really, really good development, and it should be very useful for the public if we as broadcasters can get it into their hands.
Let's stick with the broadcasters for a second, because there have been concerns in the working group before. They know somebody can hijack that, or what can you do that radio broadcasts are everywhere, and what can you do with ASA only to warn the crowds that need to be warned? So it's about unaffected and affected listeners. What do you think are the benefits of broadcasters with ASA?
Yeah. So within the development, I was really very, very keen that we should have location targeting. I mean, every broadcast system that exists has some kind of emergency warning feature that's been there for a long time. They're not really used. And editorially, it's very, very hard to use a system that affects absolutely everybody. As you were saying, it's the middle of the night. Do you want to wake up the entire country? Yeah. It's got to be something very, very... I mean, when I thought about these sort of incidents that would allow me as a broadcaster to do that, it's so horrific, you can't imagine it. And you need to be able to invest in the system. It doesn't come for free, right? So from the broadcaster side, you've got to think about how you do this, there's investment in the technology, there's investment in training. And in order to justify that investment, there's got to be a benefit. There's got to be a clear benefit. And what it means is you've got to be able to use the system. And by having the targeting, the location targeting, you can use the system. Because even if it's a small incident, it could be a gas leak, which has potential for explosion. It could be an overflowing dam. This could be thousands, tens of thousands of people affected, but it's not millions. And like you say, 3 o'clock in the morning, do you want to disturb everybody? No, you don't. You won't do it. But it's too many people to go door to door. You can't wake up 10,000 people door to door, but you can with radio, if you can target those right 10,000 people. So this ability to be able to target those affected really makes the system editorially viable for a broadcaster. Without it, I considered that we would just be wasting our time. We would have much better documentation. We would have formalized lots of aspects of the system, but we wouldn't really be in a better position to be able to use it. And so all of these features that you explained, they give the broadcaster control, as you would normally expect when you're talking to your audience. You know which segment is important, you can actually target them directly. I think it's really an amazing ability that we now have It's a completely new feature that radio has never had before. So it really should be used. And I think the commitment from Germany to say if we have this, we will use it, is really also been a big push in terms of everybody coming together, collaborating, and producing this new feature.
Well, see, this is about waking up radios, that what Lindsay is talking about, because if you're a linear user and just listening to some radio broadcast live, you have the gas leak live on the radio. This is when it's 3 o'clock in the night and you have really to wake up people, and you don't want to sound the sirens because you don't have them after the Cold War. Now, there are people saying, and you invented it basically with others, DAB+, what a genius thing. Thank you very much. We started in 2011 in Germany. And then now with ASA, towards politicians, regulators, official bodies. ASA, is that able to secure the DAB system in the next future? Because it does something, you've seen the water, no DSL, no mobile phone connection in Artan Valley without all the water. Will it secure the system for years to come?
Well, I think it does. I talk a lot to people in strategic areas. I would say that there are many, many governments that are really very concerned about how do they protect their populations. And we have all the Gs. We have 3G, 4G, 5G, 6G already being talked about. We have people who say, yeah, but IP is the solution to everything. No, IP is the solution to a lot of complex problems. Don't take that away from it. But radio is something which just works. It's really our reliability. People trust us, and they trust us because we've been doing this for a long time, and we really are the friends. We are companions to people, and that's really something that can be exploited. So I think that it adds something, and I think it brings attention to governments who are looking about how do they protect their citizens, and they think, actually radio, despite all this excitement of modern technology, good old radio, but now enhanced, is a big part of this. It's not the only way.
Yeah.
There's going to be all sorts of incidents which are not the right incidents to carry this way, but then there are a lot that are. So I think it is something, and it's been part of the motivation, is to say, okay, let's make broadcast radio, let's give it another thing that really can't be argued with.
Well, thank you, Lindsay. And thank you all for your attention.
Please speak. Thank you so much. I know there's a lot of interest in this topic, so we do have time for just one or two very, very quick questions. Who'd like to go first? Please do raise your hand and just wait for the microphone. We've got is that a couple of questions at the back, or are you waving goodbye? I think you're waving goodbye. Goodbye, safe travels. And we have a question here at the front, please.
Hello, Mohamed Assad from Forfait Company from Paris. Just wanted to know if it is expected, this ASA expected for automotive applications or to be installed on automotive. Yes.
Would you like to answer that?
Sure. Yes. So we have within the standard that the primary kind of target initially is domestic receivers, but within the standard it also talks about automotive receivers. And there are requirements for automotive that we put in there, which is you have to have 2 tuners so that you can be playing the radio, but you can also be monitoring, making sure that you are active with the signal. We have some very limited testing in the test specification for automotive, but it is very limited because trying to work out how to do a test vector in a moving vehicle, we can have GPS simulators, we can do all sorts of things, but writing that test sequence is really very, very difficult. And we didn't have time for that, and I don't think we have the expertise for that. But if the members, the WorldDAB members in the automotive sector want to come together to formulate some kind of standardized testing for vehicles, especially this moving targets, because one of the things we also talked about was, is it in a domestic radio, the receiver's fixed, so you know you're there. If you're driving, you might be driving into an affected area, or you might be driving out of an affected area. So there's also a lot of thinking about, how do you use the location coding? Does it count only when you're there, or if you're going towards it, if you're going away? There's many possibilities. So it's for vehicles, but we don't have the detail of testing. That's really something to come.
Thank you so much. I'm afraid we are going to have to move on, but remind us where we can find out more about this and get involved.
Thank you.
It's so the WorldDAB website.
Can you pull up this the presentation again?
The address.
The website.
So there are lots of resources there.
Brilliant. So head to the WorldDAB website and you can follow links through there.
Good,
the automatic safety alert system. Thank you so much, Carsten and Lindsay. For our final segment, we're going to tackle some of the hottest topics in the global radio industry. We'll dig into some critical industry trends and some of the challenges that we've got coming up. The session will be moderated by Hans Walter, Technical Director of DAB Italia and Chair of the WorldDAB Spectrum and Network Implementation Committee. Hans is joined by Caroline Grazzi from Radio Player and Gerion Joachim from Xperi. Please welcome our panel.
Where do you want to sit? So, welcome to the last session, and thank you for being here. This is going to be the fireside chat, and the program says it's going to be frank and honest. So, I hope you can give me really direct and clear answers to the questions I'm going to ask. And the first one is really about 2024, or let's say the last 12 months. Do you think it has been a good 12 months for DAB? Caroline?
Well, I think it has been excellent 12 months for DAB. I personally live in Schleswig-Holstein, so I'm one of those super happy people that you heard about. Okay. We have had great news with the planned switch off, and actually it's brilliant because the broadcasters, private and public, are super behind the thing. It's not like somebody has been forced into that switch off. They actively jointly sat together, discussed it, and decided together to do it. A little bit different than Bavaria, but that's another story. And also not a day goes by where I do not get, like a news alert of some DAB station enforcing its range, some new DAB station coming up. And as you know, even in the UK, Global, for example, recently opened up 12 new DAB channels. So there's more options for the listeners, there's more content to choose from, and also there's a richer radio experience on all the devices that it caters to. So yeah, DAB, woo.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, that's very interesting. Gerion, from your perspective, how have been this 12 months been?
I wouldn't say it's a good year, I would say it's an important year. For one reason, because I think the ASA, the Automatic Safety Alert, is very important. We have been affected by the 2021 flooding in Germany, and I can recommend to all the people in the room, get a DAB receiver with that's battery operated, right? Things you don't think about is when your house is flooded, you don't have electricity, right? So how do you get information? That's a very good point. Your phone runs dead after a while, so if you have a radio, you can pick up information. And what is more important evenly is radio is a trusted source, right? The information that's coming through the radio, people believe in. And you wouldn't believe, once you then finally were able to charge your phone, how many fake news were coming around, where people say, oh, the dam broke, there's a flood wave coming along, which wasn't true, but this was just to create panic among the people. So radio safety alerts is very important. Therefore, I think it's a very important year for DAB and for the people that have access to a very good infrastructure as we do, where you have safety alerts and you can basically have a redundant backup system with reliable and trustful information.
Okay, yeah, really brilliant. I will add something from our perspective from Italy. For us, I must say, it has been an incredible 12 months, I must say, because the development and the momentum which DAB has gained at both national and at local level has been incredible, and probably also seeing our neighbor Switzerland going for a switch off has really pushed all the radio broadcasters into the directive and the direction to realize that DAB is really the future for radio. Okay, so, but after this next question, Caroline, do you think there are particular challenges for DAB?
Well, yes. Have been, always will be, hopefully, not forever, but still prominence. And in several aspects of prominence. First of all, as we heard today as well, there's still an issue in convincing OEMs or car manufacturers in actually installing DAB into their car, because they might get away with just a dashboard where you can mount your phone. There's issues with the public not really understanding that digital radio does not need an internet connection. It's great to hear that Switzerland has this switch-off plan, but even from the support messages they receive, you also receive the notion that people do not really know what digital radio is. They still think, like I said, they need an internet connection, and sometimes they don't want that. Which brings us to marketing and communication. We still have to repeat the message and do a great job as, WorldDAB is vital in order to bring us all together and spread the word about importance, about the benefits of safety and also the options that it brings content-wise. Hybrid, there's so many aspects, but basically prominence still is the biggest issue. And although we in this room might feel we've done good, we've done great, it's going well. If you talk to Lieschen Müller or Jane Doe or whoever, what's called in your language, generally there's still a lot for us to do.
Okay, yeah, this reminds me really much about the time when digital radio, people said, yeah, but my radio has digital in frequency selection. Isn't it digital?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nothing much has changed.
Yeah. Gregor, what are the challenges you see?
Yeah, I've been in the automotive industry for almost 30 years now, and I want to give it an automotive spin because I cannot speak about home that much, but the majority of the listening on radio is done in the car, right? So the car is very important to the broadcast industry. And the biggest threat that I'm seeing for digital radio is online services and the big tech companies like Google, Amazon, Apple that are pushing into the car, that is basically trying to pull away the listenership from radio into their world, which is streaming, right? They're all about streaming. That's what they're known for. So I like the concept, I think that was brought up by Tomas and by Edita, saying, well, we as a broadcast industry, right, and we have our DNA in broadcast. We need to get together, right? We need to team up and we need to find a solution that we being prominent in the car, right? And the radio is so important. It's the most listening source, but we need to make sure that we can compete against these companies. And I think that's the biggest challenge of digital radio, the radio industry.
Okay, yeah, very interesting. I see also, from our perspective, still a lack of, let's say, coherent direction. For example, in Italy, we are still missing the public service endorsing really significantly DAB, and I see this also in other places. So I think one of the challenges is really get the whole industry into the direction of adopting DAB as the, let's say, as the evolution of radio, and not just as one of the distribution methods, and without focusing on it in a certain way. And Caroline, last question. 2025, one prediction. How do you see the development?
Well, it's certainly going forward. We see a lot of unprecedented interest from regions such as the Middle East, Africa, Asia, towards DAB, which then, like I said before, gives us more options content-wise, gives the listeners more options, which in return makes radio and DAB more interesting for the manufacturers. And with all this great content options, and hopefully with accompanied data, we can make a bigger, better, richer radio experience, not only in the car, but on every device that plays radio. You forget, it's also your little watch, it's your big TV, it's your smart speaker, as we heard before. They all need to be connected. They need to be cross-device functionalities where you can, seamlessly continue to listen on one device what you have stopped listening to on the other, for example, when you come home and park into the car. And with more options content-wise on DAB, with security alerts, safety features, and a lot of data that, again, needs to come with it, logos. The EBU Playbook, for example, is the perfect example. Everything that they want to achieve with those rules is based on data, not only the signal, but also logos, keywords, semantics, phonetics, you name it. So we need to be sure that we get to it. And I hope that with every new market coming onto DAB, they will immediately embrace the whole spectrum of all those things and learn from the mistakes that we only gradually came to achieve.
Okay, so get your metadata right.
Of course, always.
Always, yeah. Gregor, what's your prediction for next year or the year to come?
Well, that's probably difficult to answer doing predictions, right? But being on the steering board and looking at the pipeline that we have for countries to come, I think that's very promising. So I'm hopeful that there's going to be more countries that are committing to DAB, better coverage. And with that, it's a better user experience, right? If you travel through Europe and then you continue listening to the enhanced radio experience, it's great. My prediction is that the metadata hopefully becomes a bigger role and a more important topic within the industry. Metadata is important for everything, at the home receivers, on the TVs, and in the cars. And metadata is how you discover an experience, right? Only with metadata you can discover stations, find the digital radio stations. And I think that's key. So my prediction is for 24 that it's going to play a bigger topic among the broadcasters on the digital and analog side.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. What I see is really, let's say, apart from the metadata part, also a really big acceleration and growth of momentum for the whole process. I see really there's so much new interest and a sort of, let's say, new with the ASA and let's say also the metadata development, but such a new development in DAB, which we have not seen for a long time, so I see it very positively.
Maybe that's a good prediction, because I know that the car manufacturers are interested in, emergency alert system, if you call it this way, and have redundancy in the car. So I get that that's got to be a prediction that's going to go into the car quickly.
Yeah. Okay. So, Caroline and Gregor, thank you very much for this conversation. Are there any questions, maybe, for the participants? Okay.
So thank you so much. Thank you, Hans, Caroline, and Gregor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very, very nearly at the close of our World DAB Summit 2024. But first, we're excited to wrap up with a look at how DAB Plus is being promoted worldwide through a series of innovative campaigns and partnerships. So here to lead us through the showcase and to give final thoughts on today's discussions, please welcome back World DAB President Jacqueline Beerhorst.
It's incredible how quick a day goes. It's just a sigh, and it's already nearly there, the end. But before it's the end, we'd like to share with you some work of the marketing done across the world. I'm not going into too much depth because I'd like to wrap up together with Bernie ultimately. But we have a WorldDAB marketing group. That group is gathered twice a year, and it's online. And you're all invited, member or not member, to send your best marketeers to join that group. Because it is a good thing to share cases in marketing that were really fantastic or not so fantastic, to learn from mistakes from others. And it's a group that is visited by many, many people. So 18 countries, 32 countries, we're all participating with the things. And now I think it is good to know that Becky Keane can always inform you when the next marketing meeting will be in next year. And I like to show the reel that gives an overview of marketing stuff that has been made throughout the world. So you can, yes. So that was it. Bernie, could you please join me here? Do you have a microphone? Shall we share this one?
Sure. I just
yes.
I never get tired of watching that show, Ray.
Well, fortunately.
I've watched it 50 times. I still enjoy it.
Yeah. Let's talk a bit to wrap up today about what we've seen.
Yeah, well, it all started Tuesday night when we had dinner with OIV and we had a belly laugh. It was such fun.
Yeah, but we can't repeat that, I think. No, it was...
Yeah, we'll move on. And
yes.
we also had fun last night with the Balkan dancing, I think.
Yeah.
That was the highlight.
Yeah, I don't know why I got a broom and what it tells, but maybe I'll fly away.
It was great. For me, a highlight of the whole thing has been that hospitality. I mean, it's hard to single out one speaker or one segment because they were all excellent. But for me, it was that thread of Croatia throughout the whole event. I mean, it's over a year ago, OIV, our member, invited us to come here. And you know, with last night's dinner, we sampled the culture. This morning we had Mate Botica, the CEO of OIV, with strong words of support for the industry. And then we had Jasna Fila from the ministry with a really, really firm commitment to DAB. And then, of course, we had the lovely Alexandra from Bravo Kids talking about the content of Croatian radio on DAB+. So I just think that's been wonderful.
Yeah, I can only agree. And the thing on that to add is the collaboration that we saw throughout with IAR and EBU, private and commercial broadcasters together, as we do in so many countries. It's now really getting all over Europe and joining forces and seeing how important it is that we bring that message across of prominence, because that is a message that came across very, very clearly. And there were so many things, I wrote it down, and it's too much to talk about. But yeah, I also liked the RTBF, and that reminds me of Francis Goffin. I just want to say, although he's not here, but maybe he will look afterwards online, say, Francis, thank you very much for everything you've done, because you gave color to the steering board and to many conferences where we did not always agree, but that is also the spirit that you get better. Yeah, so thank you, and I wish you all the best.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
so that for Francis.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think.
So that was your first summit?
Yeah, that was my first summit.
Well done.
Yes, thank you. Well, it can only be done by the support of the project office. Yeah. I can only say thank you all for coming, and wishing you a tremendously good journey home. I wish we could stay for another night and celebrate again that we're all together, but I'm already looking forward to our next time, and maybe you can say the last word.
Where? Okay.
Yes.
Right, well, we do 2 big events every year. This is our annual conference with more general topics, but we, of course, do our Automotive conference every June, and drumroll, you are all invited to the next 2025 World DAB Automotive Conference, which will be in Madrid on the 18th and 19th of June.
Yes.
See you there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline and Bernie, for sharing those inspiring campaigns and for the exciting reveal of the 2025 venue, Madrid. Woo! That's going to be amazing. We can't wait. Thank you so much to everyone here. Thank you to our panelists, speakers, our incredible tech team, and the World DAB project team. And thank you to each of you for contributing to today's conversations. I really hope you've had a wonderful, inspiring, and perhaps eye-opening day. And I hope you've made some valuable connections that will help you with your work over the coming year. Thank you again to our partner sponsor, OIV, and to all our sponsors and exhibitors for their invaluable support. They make this event possible. Thank you. Remember, the sessions from today, the videos will all be available on our World DAB YouTube channel. We'll send you an email when they're available. Do check them out. We'll also send a short survey. Your feedback is absolutely invaluable. It helps us to continue to improve our events. So please do take a moment to complete that. We will send it by email, or perhaps if you have a few minutes, you could scan the QR code and just give us your thoughts now. If you'd like any further information on any of the topics discussed today or about the work that's happening within World DAB, then please do contact the World DAB Project Office. We're really looking forward to continuing these discussions and advancing the future of digital radio. I'm Aradna Tayal-Leach. It's been an absolute pleasure to be your host today. Thank you so much for being such a fabulous audience. I hope you have a wonderful evening and safe travels. Goodbye. Thank you.